Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who happens to have a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, there's so much to discuss. So much to discuss. Um, but here's what my guests and I are going to be talking about, what we're going to cover. Number one, we're going to cover the Target boycott fast debacle. Who really started it? And does this controversy that has ensued after Jamal Bryant said that he got Target to give him three of the four concessions that he wanted, demands that he wanted, does it prove that we have a void in Black leadership in our community? Number two, we're going to talk about the Texas Senate primary race, Jasmine Crockett versus James Tellerico. And three, we're going to talk about the Iran war and all of its implications, how it's going to end, and any tips that my guests might have on surviving the rapid cost hikes that we're all experiencing. So first, I'm going to bring on my guest, and with one apology, one guest, Les Blackburn, our only guy on the panel, called me. He had a family emergency, so he wasn't able to come. So I am going to bring up Miss Renee Schalk first. Okay. And Renee is no stranger to the show. Renee is a New Yorker who recently relocated back to the Big Apple. She is a graduate of Columbia University, a lifelong Democrat. She is a doula for women of color and socially economically disadvantaged women. She is a candidate for the I got North Carolina on the brain, for the New York City Community Education Council. She is a former Texas candidate for a political position, I believe, in one of the education districts. And she is the mother of 4 adult children and 7-year-old triplets. Welcome back to the show, Wonder Woman, Renee Schalk.
Hey, Pam. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. They turned 8 in January, so we're missing a year here.
Okay. Oh, girl, they're 8 years old already?
Yes, ma'am. I know time.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And next I have Sharon Mullen. Sharon is an insurance professional who is also a writer, digital marketer, and PR professional. Sharon has served on numerous community boards and commissions and has held office in civil rights organizations locally. Welcome back to the show, Sharon.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, who is Latrice Davis, who is absolutely no stranger to the show. Latrice is a senior court clerk with the Midtown Community Justice Center in New York City. She is an active community advocate and was appointed to the Queens Community Board 6, where she serves on numerous committees and leads. Welcome back to the show, Latrice.
Good evening, everyone. As always, it's a pleasure to be here, Pam. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. But let me get some shout outs here. LinkedIn users. I'm sorry, I'm on a call and Nick deep in work, but I love this. I don't know who that is. Okay. Hey, David. Hey, Soror Loretta.
Hello, Loretta.
All right. Okay, ladies, let's get into it. Our first conversation is about the Texas Senate primary race with Jasmine Crockett and what happened on that election primary night. I'm going to show a little video. Share my screen. And let's see if this is the one. Yep, this is it. Okay. Okay, let me get the sound up. Oh, there it is. No one.
I gotta get through this. 6 years ago, no one believed that I could become a state representative. No one.
Okay. All right, we're back. So she was very emotional that night because she had run so hard, and as we know, some funny business happened when as she was running. And Renee, I know this is near and dear to you, and Latrice, you were itching to talk about this last week.
Yes, I was. I still am.
So listen, I'm gonna let you start in and let Renee and Sharon, you guys go at it.
Okay. I was not surprised by the outcome. My issue isn't with Tallarico nor Crockett, but I think their surrogates on both sides behaved in ways that did not serve their preferred candidate any favors, or do their preferred candidate any favors. To Crockett, I think the biggest mistake she made was she waited until the last day to jump in the race. And granted, it's her right to do that. But I think that put her behind the 8 ball in terms of fundraising and campaigning and whatnot. Also, I don't know who among us has read the New Yorker piece, but again, this ties into her waiting until the very last minute to jump in. When Tallarico approached Crockett last summer and asked if she was going to run, and she said no, and then obviously December 8th, she changed her mind. I get that she was gerrymandered out of her seat by Governor Abbott, but that has nothing to do with Tallarico. And the fact that her surrogates were pushing a narrative that, oh, he should have stepped aside and run for governor instead, it's like, well, no. He explained why he didn't run for governor, because Gina Hinojosa is already running for governor and he didn't want to step on her toes. So, I mean, there's a whole lot more I can say, but like I said, my issue isn't with the candidates, but with their surrogates, who I felt did not act in ways that helped their candidate in the long run. So I'm going to pass the mic.
All right.
Hey,
Renee.
thank you, Latrice, for that. So I'm going to give y'all some tea, because I still got connections with people in Texas, particularly the Black community, and a lot of political friends that are allies as well. Now, what a lot of people don't know that they didn't talk about was there was supposed to be a trifecta. There was supposed to be Beto, Castro, and then James Tallarico. They said that they were going to, Tallarico said this was the plan. Tallarico was supposed to run for governor. Beto was Beto was supposed to run for the Senate, and I think Castro was going to run for
Attorney General.
Right. So there was a trifecta that they had made. Tallarico was the one that said, no, sorry, buddies. And he dropped it. If you notice, Beto and Castro are not out there campaigning for him because he messed up the trifecta, which could have worked, but he didn't want to do it. Now, also the history with Tallarico, and I'm not saying he's a bad person or evil person or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. Tallarico in his first campaign ran in a district that was mostly Democrat. He won that seat. Everybody was happy and proud. Then he ticked off the local Democratic Party because he left because they gerrymandered that district where it was going to be difficult for him to win. So then he moved into his mother's house and ran in that seat because it was an easier seat to win. So, he left some local Democratic politicians a little salty at that point too. And I remember the chatter and I was like, wow, they were really mean to Tallarico. And then I found out all the other stuff. Well, here comes Jasmine. Now, Jasmine stepped in because she probably had to look at the numbers and stuff. She wasn't planning at first, but people are allowed to change their mind. When you look at the landscape and you decide that, look, I could be a great senator for this state. I'm already doing the job as a U.S. Congresswoman, so I'm going to step in. That it was not up to people to be mad at her because she actually decided that she was going to run. If there was no deadline, then okay, then I can say, well, yes, you wait till the last minute, but they give you a deadline for a reason because paperwork, filing, all that stuff, getting your team together and all of that and making sure your money is where it's supposed to be takes time. So I don't know why people were mad at her because she stepped in. It's not like she stepped in after the deadline. And so that was my issue. Now, the other thing is Tallarico did say what that influencer said he said. He did. You notice he came out and said she misunderstood. She didn't hear me right. He never said the conversation never took place. What he did was he put it back on her to make her have to explain.
State what the conversation was, Renee.
Well, the conversation was, and actually this influencer, she was 10 toes down for Tallarico. Black people were like, why are you 10 toes down for this guy? Okay, support him, that's fine. But then he said something to her about, they had a conversation, and the conversation was, well, I never expected to run against a powerful Black woman. I thought I was going to run against a mediocre Black man. He didn't say nothing about campaign.
That's where the mediocre
came in. And it wasn't campaign. They cleaned that up. He said, oh, she misunderstood. No, she didn't. That woman heard what she heard. Now, why the Black woman getting all attacked and have to go back and
because she Black?
That's right. And bring receipts. That ticked me off. And it ticked a lot of Black people off. He could have simply came out and said, I didn't mean to say that. It was a mistake. I said it wrong. What I really meant was, but instead he left that Black woman out there dangling to have to take all the heat and the fire. And that's what ticked me off. And I was like, and my friends in Texas are still hot about that.
But Renee, that comes with being a journalist. Like, that's why you have receipts. I mean, again, I'm not, I'm here in New York, so I'm not privy to the information that you have. But if you're going to make that accusation, well, yeah, you're the one who has to back it up. Now,
let me cut you off real quick. She's not a journalist.
No, I understand that, and that's an issue. That goes to what I was saying before about how the surrogates acted in ways, not Morgan be talking in particular, but and the surrogates, no DS at the end, so it's more than one person. But if you're going to come out and say that, they were supposedly off the record, which is a whole nother issue. But now Morgan doesn't claim to be a journalist, so I will give her that. But again, if you're going to come out saying, oh, so-and-so said this or so-and-so did that, then yes, you're going to have receipts, especially in this day and age. And I truly believe that just to cover yourself, CYA. I mean, that's in journalism, that is very big to us. Like, we got to have our facts in order because we know people are going to challenge us and throw us under the bus if they can get away with it. Now, whether or not Tallarico goes on to win the Senate race against Paxton or the incumbent Cornyn remains to be seen, I have no say in that. But my issue was regarding that meeting you brought up. It was a meeting that was confirmed. But as Tallarico has said, and I've yet to hear Beto O'Rourke or Joaquin Castro say otherwise, it was just a meeting. Nothing was set in stone. There was no agreement. They did have a conversation, but at no point, according to Tallarico, did he ever agree to run for governor. And so
there is an article out there that Beto put out there, and he said that the conversation had, and so did Castro. So who's lying? Who's not telling the truth?
That's not the issue.
Patrice, let me say this. No, let me say this.
Sure.
It was a trifecta that they had told the political party, this is what we're doing. They went back to have another meeting to talk about strategy, and all of a sudden Tallarico was like, nah, I'm running for Senate. And everybody was like, and even Beto, who does it, I mean, he curses, but he was like, what the? No, he called Castro and said, what's going on here? And that is something that came out of Beto's mouth that a journalist wrote about. It ain't rumor. It's what he said.
But what I'm saying is that, yes, conversations and meetings were had, but was there anything set in stone? Because to my knowledge, it has not been. Like,
their word was bond. When you're talking to your dudes and you're saying, like, we got this plan, we're going to do this, and then you thinking that you meeting to talk about strategy and stuff, all of a sudden that person backs out. That you can't trust their word no more. That was word is bond. When my sister tell me, like Pam said, I'm inviting you to the show, you're gonna be there. Now, if I hadn't shown up, how do you think she'd feel about me? She'd be like, well, we didn't have nothing in writing, but we did agree. You had an email, and they had emails. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay, but the email, that's something.
Look, we shouldn't have to always prove everything when we got people already verifying the story. Now, back to Tallarico, this young lady having to have receipts. Why didn't they use Tallarico for receipts? You said you had the conversation. You can tell us when and why, and it was not off the record, by the way. He even said that. So there's that.
Sharon, I'm gonna let you jump in on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave this alone.
What's your opinion on this subject, Sharon?
Well, first, thank you for having me. And this is very good conversation. It's very interesting how words, I'm always into words and word usage. And three people can be sitting in a room and have the same conversation and hear the same things and come up with 2 and 3 different versions of it because based upon their understanding. Just because they had a conversation did not mean it's word is bond, though, because one person can be thinking we're just talking about this while the other 2 are saying, well, we're going to do this. There's a difference between saying this is what we talked about doing and this is what we are doing. And none of us know what was said. I know what I was told. I was told by my connections in the Democratic Party, not here in North Carolina, but outside of North Carolina, that's familiar with the National Democratic National Committee, that there was a meeting, but there was not an agreement between the 3. Not about writing or email. I was told the same thing. I don't know. I don't even care. It's not a big issue to me. My thing is, he decided he was going to run for Senate. She came in late, but then the expectation for him to then back out, I thought was a little strange to me.
Yeah,
I just thought that was strange because
that's bringing up the whole issue about what happened to her on that night, where people didn't know where they were supposed to vote and stuff. I thought
I was going to get to that. Yeah. I was just addressing that because that's what they started with. But the debacle of the election night, who's surprised by that? It's Texas, number 1. Number 2, it's Republicans. Their whole goal that they've planned is to confuse voters, disenfranchise voters, intimidate voters, misinform voters. That's their goal. That's their strategy because they've proven it time and time again that it works. So that's what they're going to do. If it works, they're going to keep doing it. Damn the rules. Damn what's morally right. The morality thing is down the toilet. So I'm not surprised by that. My thing is, the best thing that we can tell voters to do is to make sure before the election night, just make sure and remake sure. You got to almost be relentless checking all the time. Do you know how often I check just to make sure my voter registration is up to date? I'm in there. Now I'm starting to go every week. It used to be once a month I would check. It was every first Sunday. Like clockwork, I have a list of things I do every first Sunday so I don't forget to do it monthly. And one of them is to check to make sure my registration is still on there and valid. And I'm just saying, people need to check their voting. You shouldn't be trying to figure this out on the last day. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some of the stuff is on us. But when you're used to voting and used to people being honest, used to the Board of Elections doing things correctly and being honest, you didn't have to worry about that. Right. So rather than point fingers at the constituents, I'm going to leave the blame where it belongs, which is with the Republicans. They did it intentionally. It's bogus and it's foul, and they did it intentionally to mess her up. That was the whole goal. Last thing I'm going to say about it, people want to talk about the difference in the money. It's been proven that you can come in late and still get more money. The issue was he got more money from the Republicans because their goal was to defeat her. They are afraid of Jasmine Crockett. And that's the reason why there was so much money. He got, I heard the numbers. I don't remember. I apologize. I don't remember the data. But he got, I believe, more money from Republicans than he did from his own party.
Well, he got money.
I can see that. I think that's plausible. I can see that happening.
Yes. He got and because those Republicans got together and said, oh, no, we can't have this child. We are sick of her. And that was their goal, to humiliate her. You got to remember, folks, these I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but sometimes the humiliation of a Black woman is paramount over anything else to them. And that's what just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Sharon, you have said something there. That's exactly right. And I kept telling everybody who was saying that she can't possibly win. She can't win a state. And let me tell you something. Then why did they sabotage her and not Talarico?
Because she could have won. Because they know she could have won. The data said that's why she went on ahead and get in. The data said she should have won that race. And the data said it up until 2 or 3 nights before the election. It was still saying it. That's the reason why they had the data. You think they didn't see the data? They saw it.
That's right.
And what did they do? They had their little conference calls and they said, what we gonna do? Oh, we gonna do, okay, well, pull that string. We're in power. We can do whatever the hell we want to do. And that's what they did. That's exactly what they did.
And we are going to transition to our next subject, which is the Target fast boycott debacle. We're going to go there. We're going to go there. And I got a little video. I got a couple actually to share with you. Okay, let me see which one. Nope, that's not it. Okay, here's one.
Let's back up a little bit. A quick Google search will show you 2 different things started last year. A 40-day Target fast started on March 5th, which was Ash Wednesday. It galvanized the clergy and church community to boycott Target. The National Target boycott started a month earlier on February 1st and has continued without interruption. So the leader of the 40-day fast that ended last April said he's now ending the boycott too.
We have not been able to get all that we have desired, but I am grateful for the strides that we have made.
But the 3 founders in Minnesota, where Target is headquartered and where the national Target boycott started, say they're still holding the line.
Don't be fooled. The Target boycott continues. It continues because the demands have yet to be met, and it continues because we are winning.
So the national Target boycott started on February 1st in Minneapolis by Nikema, Jaylani, and Monique. Then a month later, the 40-day Target fast started on March 5th by Pastor Jamal, who is the one now calling for the end of the boycott. But the question remains, how can you end something you admitted you didn't start?
Y'all not gonna like this, but it's things that make you go, And Nikema Levi Armstrong, for historical record, is the one who started the Target boycott. She called for accountability for this Fortune 500 company in the city that Target is located in. The same company that is harboring ICE agents, who is using their parking lots for them to set up. The same organization that pledged $2 billion and still have not turned over the receipts. The same company who the day after the inauguration of President Donald John Trump withdrew its position on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and she's the first one they get arrested. Super bad sister.
I am so confused. The national Target boycott did not end. So why are all
Okay. All right, guys. So there you have it. I have another one too, but it's shorter, but I won't do that one right now. So the question is, okay, so that clearly shows who started what first, but we all know who has a larger platform. And I will be the first to say that I didn't know of the 2 women and the gentleman in Minneapolis that had started the actual boycott because they are not in my algorithm. I didn't hear of them, but I knew of Jamal Bryant and heard of the fast. And I'll be honest, I didn't realize that there were 2 things going on at the same time until he came forward and said that they had met 3 of the 4 demands that he had, and what have you. what say you? Who has something to say about this first?
Well, I
And
guess my first question would be, obviously there's a distinction to be made between the 40-day fast and an ongoing boycott. But I'm just curious as to the differences between Pastor Bryant's demands and Armstrong's demands. Because Tamika Mallory's the second woman, and she was like, yeah, they're two different things. And like you, I didn't know about that until recently, that, the boycott and the fast were two different things.
right.
So I think when Pastor Bryant made his statement, he should have made it clear that he wasn't speaking for the boycott. He was speaking to the fast. And 40 days, obviously, is 40 days. But I think
that obvious.
when he made his statement, he should have made it clear that what he's doing is not in relation to the boycott. And I think that would have avoided the confusion that ultimately followed.
Renee?
Yeah, I don't have a dog in this fight because I'm boycotting Target anyway, because they haven't changed their policy, and I'm going to continue to boycott them. So until I see there's a change in their policy. So whether the preacher or the people in Minnesota tell me to go back to shop in there, I'm not doing it.
But I have a question, Renee. If Target were to come around and meet the demands, would people truly return, or would? Because one of the issues I had with George Floyd's killing and all the pledges that were made is that even then a lot of it seemed performative. And like James Baldwin said, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. Putting a black square on your website isn't really solidarity. How are you treating your employees? How are you treating your customers? Like, those are things I'm looking at. And so even if Target were to come around and meet everyone's demands, is it genuine, or is it simply to placate us?
Here's the thing that I never understood for the life of me. Target was the poster child for diversity, equity, and inclusion. They were the poster child company for diversity, equity, and inclusion. They were. They really were. And I was stunned when they decided to back out of that. And then I was stunned to hear Pastor Jamal Bryant come up with he came up with a statistic, and I'm assuming that he got it. I don't know how he arrived at it, but he said that Black people were literally spending like $11 million a week in Target. And we had given Target a pet name, Tarjay, the whole nine. There was even a young lady on Instagram that had a very huge following talking about Black while shopping in Target or something like that, because they had so many fashions and things that they were highlighting of Black designers, gay design. I mean, they included Lottie Dottie and everybody. And for them to make such a drastic switch in their policy, I was like, are y'all crazy? So their board of directors are suing. They're suing because they've lost so much money over all of this. Sharon?
Well, I wanted Renee to finish what she was gonna say. I don't think she finished everything she was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
Renee.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Now, I was gonna say that I personally do my own research. Not everybody can or won't want to. They'll follow whatever the trend is and whatever else is happening out there. But you can't kick me in the teeth and then expect me to come back for more. So I don't know if they changed their policy, if I would go back to shopping there. It would probably take me a while to trust them again and come around. I just have to see what they do. But that's the only way to make a business, cater to the culture that they're servicing, is to make it difficult, make it hard for them to want to do that again. So if it's painful, they deserved it. And so, like I said, I'm going to continue to boycott till I see that there's real change, and they're not getting any of my coins. Sorry.
The bigger question I had about this with the Target thing that came to mind for me was the lack of Black leadership in general. And not that we can't have different groups and what have you. But our big central civil rights organization, NAACP, for instance, and I've criticized them before on this show, I feel like they've gotten so far into the entertainment area and we got comfortable. We
Yeah.
collectively as a people got comfortable. People were doing well, living well, and we got comfortable. And we took our eyes off of the mission, the main mission of these organizations, as if we had all arrived, and we have not. And what we are learning in the age of Trump, that we certainly have most definitely not arrived. And I had some Gen Zers on my show, and they told me, they said, Miss Pam, we don't want a leader. We have to have our decentralized leadership type of thing. And I'm thinking, how is that working for us? Because it's not. It's not. And even this situation where we've got two factions that all mean the same thing and mean well, they're broken because there's not a central force to kind of bring everybody together, or at least not talk your business out in public, and we come together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And let me speak on that. Okay. Me from the very beginning, I knew what Pastor Jamal was doing. He said it. I followed him for a long time. So maybe he's in my algorithm, but the Minnesota is too, because I have friends in Minnesota. So I pay attention to what's happening in Minnesota. So I had the benefit of knowing about both factions from the very beginning.
Okay.
Jamal came forward and said he started the fast to support the work of the people in Minneapolis. He said that from the beginning. He never said, I'm just going to ride their coattails into the spotlight like they said he did. That's not what he did. That is a lie. And that upset me very much in their press conference. It also upset me the way that they attacked him rather than sticking to what actually happened and what was actually said and done. No, they rather call him a fake pastor, say he doesn't have any credibility or any authority to do anything or say anything, when his platform is triple theirs. There's still a lot of people that don't even know who they are still to this day, even after the controversy. But most people know who he is. And when you hear Target boycott, they see his face. Yes, he said 90-day fast, but as the 90 days came, he decided that the impact was so great and their movement was so slow, we're going to extend this. In fact, the people he was reaching out to didn't return his calls fast enough. It was almost like they were going to start dismissing him. So rather than allow them to do that, he said, well, okay, we'll show you. We're going to extend this fast. That's how it ended up being a year. Now, if you catch the video, people watching, there's a video that he came out with after he was accused of ending it prematurely and all that. He came out with his explanation video. And in the video, he lists all 4 of the demands and the 3 that they agreed to. Of course, the folks in Minneapolis said Target has told them that they didn't agree to any of that. So we shall see. Because if Target starts doing what they said, then what are they going to be saying then in Minneapolis when they actually start doing the things that they said they were going to do? And so that part, I'm just waiting to see how that falls out, to see who I believe was telling the truth about all of those details. But Target's not to be trusted. Would you expect them to admit to the people in Minnesota that they agreed to this with Jamal? I wouldn't. So why would they ask them and then hang on to their word just to discredit Jamal? You know why? Because they're falling into the trap that all white people like to see us do, pitting one faction against the other. It's a simple thing. That's why all this confusion is working. Because what do we have now? We got the 3 people up there and all their friends disliking him and all his friends, and then just like in grade school, telling all their friends don't support them. I'm serious. I read all this online. It's just silly. But why do we keep doing it? You know why? You know why those young people told you, Pam, that we don't need a centralized leader? Because of social media. Because in social media, you don't need anybody to tell you. You can say whatever you want to say on social media. You can decide to follow who you want to follow. They don't even have to present credibility to you. If it hits you in the right spot, you can choose to believe them, and you don't even know if it's true. But you and I and all four of us sitting on this panel today know that that's ridiculous. You do need some centralized leadership if we want to get anything done. And like I told you before the show, I was going to make sure that I recommend this book.
Yes.
It's a book out called Operation Breadbasket, an untold story of civil rights in Chicago, 1966 to 1971. Written by Martin L. Deppe, D-E-P-P-E. He's a Jewish guy, but he know what he's talking about.
But the picture, put the book up. So
I'm gonna put it up. But this chronicles what happened in Chicago during the time of Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King and everybody, and how they were able to move the civil rights movement forward. Hard work, planning, centralized leadership, that thing that the young people don't want. You know why? Because they don't want anybody to tell them what to do. That's what it is. Nobody can tell me what to do. You can't tell. When this Target fiasco, you should have seen the people. They were more concerned about putting in the comments, can't nobody tell me not to go to Target. Can't nobody tell me to go back to Target. It's both of them. When the boycott started, you can't tell me not to go. I'm still going. I saw video after video of people in Target saying, hey, this is me going into Target. You can't tell me where I can shop. Then after they blew up, then you get these other people. Well, I'm not going back in there. I don't care if you tell. Ain't no pastor gonna tell me to go back into Target. He didn't say go back in there.
But Sharon, I want to speak to your point about centralized.
His part. That's all he said. That's what he said.
Latrice?
Yeah, I was going to speak to Sharon's comments about centralizing a movement. As y'all know, I was born and raised in New York, still live here. And I do think there's a place for centralizing leadership, because I think back to the Occupy Wall Street movement. I was working as a freelance journalist at the time. And I would go down there talking to the people, taking pictures. And I knew, and not that and obviously income inequality is an issue, but there were red flags for me early on, because when I would ask people, well, what's the end game here? What are you looking to accomplish by doing this? You would talk to 5, 10, 20 people, and you would get 5, 10, 20 different answers. That right there was a red flag. And that's why I said earlier, with the Target fast and the Target boycott, does Armstrong and Pastor Bryant, do they have the same goals? It sounds like they don't, because Pastor Bryant said they met 3 of his 4 demands, and according to Armstrong, they haven't offered her, Target hasn't come to her group with anything. So the fact that they're not only not on the same page, I'm not sure they're reading the same book. And to me, that's a problem, because again, what's the end game here? Like, even if Target was to give Pastor Bryant and Miss Armstrong everything they've asked for, are people still going to come back? Because ultimately, that's what Target, the board of directors, care about. They want people coming back into their store spending their money. Everything else is for the birds.
That's right.
Let me answer that quickly. We don't give a darn what the Target board wants. I don't care what they want. I don't care about them wanting the people to come back. Of course they do. But the bottom line is, there are a faction of Black people who will not go back.
As is their right.
Until Target does something monumental.
But what is that?
It has to be consistent. What is it? There's so much wrong with what they've done. I can't begin to tell you what all of them are,
Well,
but what
one
I
they
will
started
say,
with a heartfelt apology. There was no
that
apology.
too. But what
No
I will say is the 4 things that Pastor Jamal were concentrating on are a subset of what the Minnesota people wanted. They had a long list. He only dealt with 4. There was a reason he only dealt with 4, because that's what his goal was, to get the Black church involved, because he knows back in the day it was the Black church that pushed the movement forward to success. And he felt the Black churches were not doing enough. They weren't speaking about the boycott. They were trying to keep under the radar. And he said, no, we need to say something besides at the pulpit. We need to do something. That's how it started. Those 4 things, subset. So if Target had given them all 4, yeah, they should be happy with the. He's not telling them to stop boycotting. He chose the wrong words, and he admitted that in his apology. He should not have said it in the way he said it. He got a little giddy and beside himself. He admitted that. But specifically, his part is over. He's now moving his attention to another objective within the overall civil rights movement of Black people. It's just not dealing with Target. Now we're moving on to Family Dollar. And then he started talking about Family Dollar. So there's going to be a fast of Family Dollar coming up, folks. I mean, there's a method to the madness, and I get it. But perhaps if people would read this damn book, maybe they will get a better understanding of it. Until this book changed my perspective on it so much. I cannot tell you how critical this book is.
Okay.
I want to thank you for explaining that, because I wasn't following the whole thing online. I just saw, like, why are they ripping this pastor up? I didn't know what was going on. I was like, but who decided that?
Renee, because they're like this. I want the spotlight. I'm sorry. I respect them for standing up, doing the boycott, standing up to Target, right in their own backyard. I approve of all of that. I hope they continue. But when he came out and said all that, their ego got in the way. And they wanted everybody to know that we started it. I don't know if you all actually listened to their whole press.
I did. I listened
to it. I listened to it like 3 or 4 times. And every time I was trying not to be as angry as I was the first time I watched it, I was more angry. Again. Because like Pam mentioned earlier, why do we have to reprimand each other in public? I just don't get that. You can say what you want about them damn Republicans, but I swear to God, if they hated each other, we didn't know it, because they all came out and said, yeah, Donald Trump is the man. That's it. And that's how you got to roll. And I don't understand why we can't understand that.
Let me read this comment by David. It says, this may sound syrupy sweet, but we have to find common ground that is not affected by jealousy or envy and present a unified front to the goals of Black people. Other races know the divide and conquer strategies that cause confusion in the ranks. And that is absolutely correct. And that's what I'm talking about. Not that any of our movements or organizations have been perfect. We all know that they aren't, but we know what works and what has worked for years and what helped us get to where we are now. And we're void of that now. Dwayne says, organize a group of Black investors to buy a large enough share of Target stock, and then a Black voice would be more effective. Boycotts really are hard to succeed. I beg to differ with you that boycotts are really hard to succeed. I beg to
they do. Yeah, I disagree with that part too, Pam.
Yeah, but I do like the idea, investing, to each his own. I think that
I'm telling you, we could take a page out of the book of the Michael Jackson way of overtaking something.
Yeah,
forming that company and getting all the dudes masters.
Yes,
and he didn't even know.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Why can't we do that? We've got enough billions to do it.
Well,
Hey,
I want to speak to what Dwayne just said. I don't think it's not so much boycotts are really hard to, pull off, but if you're going to pull it off, you need to be clear, concise, and consistent in your goals. And it sounds to me like that's the issue because you just said, Sharon, that Pastor Brian only had 4 demands, whereas the trio in Minneapolis has a laundry list. So if you the more demands you have, the less likely you are to get everything you want. So, again, this isn't my area of expertise, but that's why, like I said, are they even reading? I mean, it's one thing to not be on the same page, but it sounds to me like they're not even reading the same book. Because if Pastor Brian's reading Othello and they're reading Hamlet, yes, it's all Shakespeare, but at the end of the day, there's still going to be a conflict because, again, they're clearly not aligned.
No, they're reading the same book, Latrice, but their ego got in the way. It's very simple.
Let me say
they did not like him saying what he said, and they felt like it took the spotlight off of them. Plain and simple. Go ahead, Ms. Renee.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you guys. What I wanted to say was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I sent out, blasted a bunch of people and said, hey, have you heard of this Black-owned bank? And people like, no, didn't really hear of it. I said, well, check it out. I said, if we all became their customers, Black folks, or whoever wanted to join the Black-owned bank, money is money. I said, we could collectively have, power, because they need board members, they need this, they need that. And, crickets. Black people,
Yeah.
These are smart Black people who have, decent money. And I was just like, okay, so you're not even going to think about that idea that we should have our own banking system, just like we should have our own media company.
Yes.
Because BET was one thing, that was just entertainment, but it was not news. We need our own news company.
Yes.
Even if it has to be online. I don't care where the news come from, as long as it's the truth.
Yes.
So we need to start up something. And instead, everybody is doing them. Like you said, Sharon and Pam and Latrice, everybody doing them. We're not thinking collectively. And the sad part of it is it's easier to reach more Black people now than it was back in 1965. 1965, you had to drive and knock on doors, lots of doors, and you couldn't get to everybody.
Didn't even have a fax machine.
Nope.
I was gonna say,
I'll speak to Renee's point about the media market or the concentration of media ownership. As you know, a lot of media companies have capitulated to the current occupant of the White House, and that's not a good look. But also, it takes money. Journalism costs money. I like free stuff as much as anybody. Trust me, I do. But I also know that's not how life works. So when it comes to quality, hard-hitting journalism, journalists, they need the resources, they need the support, and they're not getting it. Even BuzzFeed, which was an online startup, that folded. It takes money, and it takes long-term money. It can't be flash in the pan. It has to be over a sustained period of time. And unfortunately, we don't have that access. And that's why a lot of us are not in the newsroom like we should be or want to be. Well, I've said before the pan, walking away from journalism was the hardest thing I've ever done. But when I look at the profession now and what it's become, I simply don't see a place for myself in the newsroom. And I have to say, you know what, as much as I love the craft, this isn't for me and I had to leave. And hopefully those who are coming up behind me, they'll get their opportunity to leave their mark, whether it's on the red carpet or in the White House press corps or wherever they can get in.
Well, the thing is, we do have the money. If we got billionaires out there, we got maybe a trillionaire, I don't know, out there. We have the money if we got together and did this. It's not like I'm expecting you to foot it and us four. Like, I'll take our little piddly money and try to start up something like that. We got people
$29.99. I got that.
that part. So, but there, if we get $29.99 times what, 12 million, we can start up a company and make it work. That is, but the thing is, as Sharon has said, we're not collective, and Pam has said, we're not collective. We don't think like that anymore. We have been so decentralized by social media, for one thing, but also by the fact that we don't all live in the same place anymore. We've gotten jobs in different states. We moved from family and long-term family. And so the roots and the compounds of our heritage, we're not there anymore. So just to speak on that, but so I don't know what the answer is. I think it'll take people like us to keep going out there and saying these things and pushing and saying, like, maybe I should reach out to these people again about this Black-owned bank. And then, maybe they'll be like, yeah, it's time to invest in the Black-owned bank. Maybe talk to, some of the podcasters that are out there and say, hey, have you thought about, starting a news program? It's unfortunate that the truest and best news that I get is from like BBC or someplace outside this country.
Outside the country.
But BBC is also funded by the government, just like Al Jazeera. When they had Al Jazeera America, and unfortunately that didn't last. But Al Jazeera was another outlet that is funded by Qatar, I believe. I'm not sure of the country, but those media outlets had support, and not only that, but the government officials, for the most part, stayed out of the way. They weren't meddling like, he whose name shall not be said right now.
But he who name we're not going to say, White House Grandpa, is not going to be around forever. So we need
and that goes to an even bigger problem. As I've said on this show many times, that man can drop dead tomorrow, and to quote Beyonce, America still has a problem.
Yeah.
And
Guys,
they're in power.
And we got one more
They're in
subject
power.
we got to get to tonight, and that is the Iran war. And I have a video for that. Hold on. We're transitioning yet again. Yeah, this is it. Okay.
This isn't a strong versus weak war. It's centralized versus decentralized power. Most armies are built like this. Kill the leaders leads to system collapses. Iran built the opposite. No center, no single failure point, no clean victory. Even if you destroy command, local units still operate. Proxies still attack. Missiles still launch. That's not strength. That's design. Now look at the cost gain. A $10,000 drone forces a $1 million interception. They're not trying to win battles. They're trying to make war too expensive to continue. And then comes the real leverage. 20% of global oil flows near Iran. They don't need a clear victory, just enough disruption to unsettle the system. Oil spikes, markets panic. Pressure shifts from battlefield to global economy. So what are you actually seeing? Not dominance, not victory. It survives impact and spreads the pain. And that's much harder to defeat. Because how do you win against something that doesn't need to win?
If Iran is weaker, why isn't it losing? Everyone keeps saying Iran is getting hit. So then why does it still hit back? You're analyzing the wrong battlefield. This isn't a strong versus weak war. It's centralized versus...
Well, this is similar to what we saw 20 plus years ago with Al-Qaeda. The difference between that and Al-Qaeda is Al-Qaeda did not pledge allegiance to a country. They pledged allegiance to bin Laden and his ideology and his way of thinking. But in terms of what's going on in Iran, I don't know if you read in today's paper how they're going to have ICE agents at the airports.
Girl, don't even get me started on that one. I can't.
The reason I'm bringing that up is because, okay, with oil prices fluctuating, going wazoo, and then like travel at the airports is already off the rails. So I think it's not just one thing to keep in mind. You just have to look at the bigger picture. That was my only reason for bringing that up.
Yeah,
I'm going to give y'all my theory on this.
Yes, Renee.
Think about it for a while. You notice how Jared Kushner goes into every country to try to, quote, negotiate. I'm not sure what they're negotiating, but I bet it has something to do with oil, minerals, and dollars. It's always that. And when he doesn't get his way, because Iran said, nope, not doing it, he goes toddling back to White House Grandpa. And then next thing we know, they're blowing that country up or kidnapping the head of that damn country. I mean, watch where Kushner is when he's saying he's trying to negotiate. You best believe that's going to be the country that they're talking about targeting next, especially if that country does not cave to what Kushner and his father-in-law demand is. And that's how this whole thing works. But the problem is that we got somebody in the White House that don't even know how to play checkers, more or less. I think he's just drawing with crayons or whatever. So he thought by attacking Iran in what was it, November, July, somewhere in there, that they were done. We got all their nuclear weapons. We're finished now.
Yeah. Right.
Well, he thought they were weak. But Iran plays a long game. They've been doing this for almost 50 years. Yes. Yep. And the other presidents recognized it. They listened to their intel and said, we don't need to bother them. They staying cool. They ain't coming after us. Just let them be. I'm sorry for the people in Iran. They might live under authoritarianism, but hey, they ain't messing with us. They ain't messing with our allies. This fool thought because he attacked November and this guy said, and the Ayatollah and his people were on TV saying, please don't come after us again. Please. You know what they were doing? They were down in their little laboratories building more missiles and more drones.
Underground,
right.
under the sand.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And they knew this fool was going to attack them again. So yes, they have plentiful supplies. That's what I would have done.
Cheaper,
cheaper and plentiful. And they're strategic. They know how to hurt us. The oil, because that's all they care about, the oil and the money. So they destroyed a lot of, the American oil, companies or areas. And here we are. And he doesn't know how to get out of it. He can't get out of it.
I think first and foremost, the current occupant of the White House is doing Netanyahu's bidding, for one thing. But also, in terms of Iran playing the long game, we've seen this before. I mean, I think to Salman Rushdie, he's just a writer. He's not a politician or anything of that nature. And Iran, I believe, has had a fatwa against him for 40 years for writing a book, The Satanic Verses. So, I mean, and he was seriously injured not too long ago. So it's like they have long memories. So in terms of Iran playing the long game against us, I'm not surprised. But unfortunately, who is surrounded by a bunch of enablers and yes men who blow smoke up his butt and pull the strings. And that's why we are losing service members at the rate we're losing them. Because some of the soldiers who have died up to this point, they should not have given their life for this. They should still be here.
Latrice, do you even trust those numbers? I don't trust anything comes out.
I don't trust anything he says.
You don't think service members have died?
I don't think
not nearly, and not in the numbers. I don't think those numbers are right.
No, I'm not vouching for the numbers, but I think one service person is too many. But I definitely believe that military men and women have lost their lives up to this point. I don't know how many.
Yeah, but I'm just saying nothing coming out of this war filtered through the White House is ever going to be true until we can actually verify it on the ground. And unfortunately, nobody's going to get in there to verify it on the ground. So it's a propaganda machine at this point. So I don't trust any of the numbers coming out. I'm not saying service people didn't die. Of course they did. I think they're probably more.
I do too.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there are more. And also another thing I want to bring up real quick is how you have a lot of expatriates in neighboring countries. They're stuck. I was watching an Instagram video of a woman who she's a U.S. citizen, but she works in Dubai. And, Iran hit some of, their areas, and now she's stuck. She can't get out. She called the embassy, and the embassy basically told her, you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was one story of a expat that was trying to get out. They ended up, and they couldn't get any help from the U.S., so they ended up getting help from one of the other countries' agencies or whatever. They got them to Cyprus, but then when they got to Cyprus, they had to pay their own fare to get back to the United States. So it was like, another country had to help them get out of the region and get to Cyprus. And then they had to pay their way. What if you didn't have the money? It's just like you'd be stuck in Cyprus too.
They were telling some of them to take loans out. I saw where they were saying you could take a loan out to get home or something to that effect. But listen, I want to read what Michael Hall says, because it's something that I wanted to state too, that one of the ships that came through the Hormuz,
Port of Hormuz.
they had to pay in Chinese dollars, the yuan or whatever. And that is the big problem, is that our dollar is being devalued very quickly. And Michael says, watch who's moving the oil now, and you will find the culprit. And my God, prepare for the fall of the dollar. Because
Agreed, Michael. Agreed, Michael.
It's coming. They are strategically targeting the dollar, and it will not survive the onslaught. We're witnessing the fall of a superpower, and that's the elephant in the room. And that is
no lies told there, Mr. Hall.
Yeah, he is absolutely correct. I heard a theory that this is all about cryptocurrency, that Donald Trump owns a lot of cryptocurrency, and he's trying to break the dollar so that everybody would have to use cryptocurrency in order to buy and move merchandise and stuff. So there's a lot of plausible in there, but this is not an accident. He's stupid. He didn't expect it to be like this, but this is not an accident.
Yeah.
Just evil.
It's beyond evil, and it's beyond scary. And I don't know. I don't know. I heard that there were some changes in Social Security and all of these things. And for those of us close to retirement, I'm just so confused over everything. Everything is is such a mess.
They're touching everything.
And that's by design. That's no coincidence.
By design. Right. That's right.
Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you what, I heard Governor Pritzker of Illinois say, okay, we got a Project 2029, and we're going to prosecute the entire Trump administration. While I like that idea, for our Project 2029, we better have a plan in place of how we're going to reverse course on so many things to get them back, because we've already lost the game with our allies and stuff. People have moved on. They formed different partnerships. Our farmers are going belly up, and meanwhile the billionaires are buying up their proproperty. And how they expect for us to eat and live?
Hey,
they don't want us to.
Right. Quick thing about the farmers. Yes, the people are losing their farms, but the government is buying it up, buying their land and their farms up, which is even scarier, because I don't want the government growing my food. So that's even scarier thought.
Yeah, it's a lot of you in the yeah.
Well, I'm gonna this is it's all diabolical, and it's all about power and control and the desire to control the world. That's really what it is.
I'm going to leave on a good note. One last thing that I'll say about this is that this is doable, meaning we can reverse this and make it better than it is. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some work, but this is not how the story ends. I truly believe that enough, white people have taken to the streets to make it. Look what they did in Minnesota. They were like, no, we're not having it. So I think, because people are actually seeing this for what it is, that we're gonna turn it around. But this was a hard lesson to learn. They FO'd. Sorry. But sometimes my mother said there's easy learners and they're hard learners. And apparently Americans got a lot of hard learners.
Yeah, we do.
I think what it comes down to is this, go back to 1865 and the end of the Civil War. Instead of holding those men accountable for the decisions that they made, basically Lincoln's successor said, let bygones be bygones, and they never had the answer for what happened. The creation of the 13th Amendment. I think America's inability / unwillingness to be honest about how they moved all these centuries is why we are where we are right now. We got to get real with ourselves about the decisions our ancestors have made. Not our ancestors, but I'm talking about white people. The dirt they did, Manifest Destiny, Trail of Tears, Japanese internment camps, the list goes on. They got to own that. And when you look at all the evils that have been perpetuated throughout society, who perpetuated them? White men. When you look at, I mean, even nowadays in the 21st century, school shootings, mass shootings, the perpetrators of most of those are white men, white boys. Coincidence? I don't think so, but let me shut up.
No, it's the truth, and it's true from the days of our Civil War. People have not been held accountable. They did not get punished for what was done. And then what did the ladies of the Confederacy, daughters of the Confederacy, do? They propped up
Maintain it.
statues so that we could never
Right.
forget them and
Right.
celebrate the people who lost
Mhm.
and all of that type of thing. So it's been a losing. I never will forget when my family first relocated from Michigan to North Carolina, and we went to visit Virginia, and we went to this area. I forget the proper name of that park, where they had all of these statues, and I was just like, what is all of this stuff? And I was reading them, and I was like, what in the world? What is all of this? And
Confederates.
I didn't see all that stuff back home.
Mhm.
But it's just so mind blowing, I tell you.
Well, this is
And one more point I want to bring up. One of my pet peeves is when you hear politicians talk about states' rights. Because, I mean, it's a dog whistle. You know it, I know it, and they know it too. And I always ask myself in my head, states' right to do what? Because, again, I know what they want. It's like they're saying it without saying it. That's what they really want to go back to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my final thought is, Renee, I appreciate your optimism, but I'm not there. And the reason I'm not there is because the current administration has proven already that laws don't matter. They don't care about the law. They are bold enough to do what they know is against the law. And they know there's not enough courts available in this land to catch them at everything that they're doing. And they're going to keep doing it nonstop, rapid fire. And then when it's time to have a real election, they're going to do what they did with the last one, which is fix it. I mean, everybody sitting here knows that man did not win this election. Come on. He didn't win.
Well, Sharon,
but we can't prove it. We can't prove it yet. But they have pretty much told us that they fixed it themselves and then laugh when they say it. I'm not guaranteeing, I'm not confident about this upcoming election in November.
If we have one.
Because don't forget that a Republican loyalist to Donald Trump bought the company that manufactures our voting machines that we currently use. The same company that sued Fox and won.
Yes.
They sold the damn company to one of his loyalists. I don't make this shit up, y'all. I'm telling you.
So, in regards to the 2024,
I'm not doing the rah-rah. I'm not there, Renee. I'm not saying I'll never get there. That's why I'm thanking you for your words. I'm going to think on them.
Okay, Sharon, I really appreciate that. And I understand people ain't there yet. I get that. But for me, in order to move forward, I have to be thinking 10 steps. I'm strategic. And so what I will say, though, is that I don't think that the difference between now and the other time, white people are mad.
It doesn't matter.
And they are not going to. I'm just telling you, they're going to put some teeth in these laws. I understand your skepticism, but I'm just telling you, this is different. have you seen all the ruby red states that have swung blue by like 40, 30 points?
Yes.
When white people are mad, they're not used to this. Black folks have survived way more.
Yeah.
Way more.
Okay. Let me drop this back in response. It's great that they've turned blue and they can go to Washington. But when you got a president that doesn't give a damn what the Congress says, I don't care if the Congress is blue. He's not going to do what they say. Short of them staging almost a coup in Congress to say, we're not leaving here until this man is behind bars, period. And unless they do something drastic like that, or if the military holds to their oath to the Constitution and not him, and they decide to get his butt out of that office, out of the White House, then I don't see anything. I just don't see it. I think it's great that we're winning elections,
but that's the only way we can do it.
You're sending them to Washington. They can have a vote, and it doesn't matter. He has proven it doesn't matter what Congress says. That's
because
all
we
I'm
don't have
saying.
control.
I'm gonna say that.
I'm saying
even
even
past
if you flip
Let
it and
Latrice
give them
speak.
control,
Okay, let Latrice speak.
He won't listen. He will not adhere to what they say. That's where I'm
Okay,
at.
Latrice.
Okay, I was just gonna say that I don't put anything past the Republican Party, but I think November 5th, 2024 was a wake-up call, or it should have been a wake-up call to a lot of people. That I think back to 2016 when Trump won the first election against Hillary Clinton. And my mistake at that time was thinking that, oh, these people are just a fringe minority, what have you. And what that told me was that this fringe minority is bigger than I thought. And then 2020 reinforced that because Biden won, but he barely won. And the fact that that election was as close as it was yet another reminder that there's more Trump supporters and believers out there than we wanted to acknowledge. And then so in terms of what happened with Harris in 2024, do I think Trump cheated? I wouldn't put it past him, but I'm not going to be so quick to say that, again, they're a vocal minority. I really do think there are a lot of people. Like Trump gave those people permission to come out of hiding. And those people are in positions of power, whether it's Wall Street, whether it's school boards, whether it's hospitals. So the list is endless. But I think as Black people, as Black women, we move forward because that's the only way. Like, we can't go back. We just can't.
And that's where I agree with you, Renee. I understand. Pam and I talk about this all the time. We've got to think positive in order to stay awake.
And that's all.
In order to make it through the day. I get it. I get it. Because sometimes I can't sleep at night sometimes with some of the stuff that comes across I have to not look at it. So I can go to sleep sometime because I worry. I got a grandchild. He's 4. And I looked at him today and I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen to this little boy? And what's going to happen when I'm no longer here to protect him? And you know what I mean?
That's the point. We have to think ahead for them. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the Epstein, I'm going to say quickly about the Epstein file. Mm-hmm. The Epstein file is driving a lot of this, as we know. Donald Trump is trying not to go to prison again. And we're going to get the Congress back. So then we'll have some teeth that we can make and change some things. That's what I believe. I still believe we're going to have an election.
Not as long as he's here, and he ain't leaving, which is why he tore down the whole wing of the east wing of the White House. Because he ain't going to leave.
Because God's going to see to it that he leaves. And on that note,
I can't wait to see it.
It's 12 after 9, and I'll just, we'll leave on this light note. Zachary says, on a lighter note, have y'all seen the Eric Benet video? McDonald's, he's put more grease on the Big Macs that you sent to the White House.
Yes. Eric Benet is a national treasure. That's all I'm going to say.
I saw it. It is funny as heck.
Yeah, I trust God too, y'all.
I trust.
I don't question my faith. I'm faith. I got the faith.
Y'all have been. This
was a great show. Great show. I enjoyed this. Great show.
And
now I gotta make sure we stay in touch after the show, ladies.
Yeah, very active on the Facebook page.
We're all in the group. Yeah. So listen, guys, wave off good night to everybody. See ya.
Good night. Thank you.